Begin the scene. Enter me, the protagonist. Enter antagonist number 1, SN3NO_O. I had been making a delivery and was attacked, and as the dedicated pizza boy I was, squared up and began one of the longest conflicts in my GTA career. Sadly, I do not have the footage of how the conflict started, but essentially this man and his assailant had attacked me by ramming into the side of my tank disguised as a van. After making my first delivery, I then turned and began firing at SN3N_O, who ran me into a tree. I then used my perfect aim to attack his insurgent. He then retreated, and I began the longest hack in the universe. After realizing I didn't have enough time to complete it, I exited the menu and began shooting at my attacker. He threw sticky bombs at me, but to no avail. I then completed the hack and was rammed by his partner, Mr. Birdo. Now, whilst his first attack may have been a feeble ram into my butt with a motorbike, he would prove to be a difficult opponent later on. I begin moving towards my second delivery point, hoping they realized their attacks were in vain, and gave up. But no, they soon chased, and I sped towards my second delivery. I was determined to get the pizza there, warm and fresh for the family to enjoy. Upon getting close to the second delivery point, I used my excellent driving skills to get myself stuck. My immediate plan was to call my vigilante and use its booster to free my vehicle, whilst also using the missiles to defend against any attackers. When out of the blue, SN3NO_O showed up and began shooting my vehicle. He had me dead to rights. All I could do was wait for him to kill me. But then the fucking dumbass blew me up and freed me, and immediately paid for that mistake. I then delivered the pizza and began moving towards my third delivery. Shortly after, I was attacked by Mr. Birdo in a Duke of Death, firing out of his window with an SMG. His attacks did fuck all to my heavily armoured van. I blew him up and moved on. Again, using my amazing driving skills, made it to the third delivery point, and had succeeded in giving these fine people their pizzas, and went on my merry way to my submarine to begin a heist because I was broke. This is where I made my first error. I thought the battle was over, a simple 1v2 that, against the odds, I had conquered. Oh, but they had other plans. They wanted revenge for humiliating them, and continued attacking me. After exiting my submarine, I realized that they boarded me, and still wanted to fight. I landed on a nearby beach, preparing to snipe them, but was domed in the head before I could get out of the chopper. After respawning, they pushed me on a jet ski. I gunned them down easily, but the GTA gods blessed them, and they both spawned right in front of me, giving them the advantage in a 1v2. With better guns and more people, I again used my perfect aim and died almost immediately. Respawned, killed SN3NO_O, and then died again. Then again, and again. Until I changed my strategy, running away. It didn't work, at all. After respawning, I realized they were very close to where I spawned, and turned, fired, killed SN3NO_O, then died to Mr. Birdo, and then died again, and again, until finally, it spawned me on a different beach. I attempted to spawn in a vehicle to make a getaway and retreat to a better location, but was shot in the back of the head by Mr. Birdo. I was spawned even farther away and attempted to spawn in my oppressor to blow them up, but oh no, it was bugged and wouldn't spawn. I pulled out my sniper to attempt to kill SN3NO_O before he reached land, but was sniped again by Mr. Birdo. I then attempted to make a getaway in a random car, but didn't make it far. I then attempted to call in my oppressor again, but it wouldn't let me. I had to call in a personal vehicle, which was still the oppressor, and it spawned directly in their line of sight, and was shot making my way towards, and I would have made it too if it weren't for this damn car. I then called in my Sparrow, but again, it spawned in front of them. Why, GTA? Why? I almost made it again, but was run over by another civilian, and died before I could take off. At this point, I didn't know what to do. My oppressor was destroyed, and my Sparrow was going to take 3 minutes to be able to respawn again. I attempted to drive away in another car, but was shot in the back of the head before I could make it far. My plan was to stall long enough for my Sparrow to be respawned, and fly to the high ground whilst dying as little as possible. The game fucked me harder than a Latino porn star, and spawned me on the low ground, and on the beach, away from the road, making it difficult to spawn in vehicles. I climbed my way up, and was immediately run over. I devised a plan to kill them, and then run away as far as I could. It succeeded. But after checking how long I could spawn in my Sparrow, I got domed by Mr. Birdo. My Sparrow had 19 seconds left. SN3NO_O was closing in, and I baited him into my assault rifle. After spawning in my Sparrow and made for the high ground, narrowly dodging an explosive. After making it to the high ground, I again boasted about my victories by sending Mr. Birdo a message. They then got in their helicopters and chased me down. I then begin devising my plan, which I'll tell you about later, but to enact it, I needed this. Then, ran to where I needed to begin my plan, Blaine County. Got blown up, killed SN3NO_O whilst we were in a chopper, called in my oppressor, and enacted my plan. The plan was simple, yet effective. Phase 1. bait SN3NO underscore O into charging me with any sort of vehicle. His most common vehicle to use was the Insurgent, then blow it up, rinse and repeat. I waited for them to be in any sort of vehicle, headed over, and then blew them up. Phase 2. Mr. Birdo has already shown his amazing skills in long-range gun combat, so avoiding fighting him at range was key to winning. I would put myself in between buildings and structures or mountains until he pushed me in a vehicle to which I could lock on and eliminate, whilst also blowing up SN3NO underscore O at any opportunity I could. This fight lasted a while, and not much happened, so I'll skip over it, but I'll give you a rundown of what happened. These people aren't very smart, and fell into my trap every time. They didn't kill me until they reached Phase 3. So... Phase 3. Eventually, they'll learn. They either need to give up and run home to mummy, use a vehicle that can combat the Mark II, or fight on foot. Best case scenario, they left, and I win. Worst case, they use vehicles that can counter the Mark II. They decided to fight on land, which meant I had to shift my strategy. They were determined, I'll give them that. My immediate idea was to call in the Speedo Custom. It was heavily armoured against normal guns and explosives, had a mounted minigun and proximity mines. I would be almost unkillable, but I thought that'd be no fun, so instead I engaged them in gunfights. However, they had both shown to have superior weapons, and there were two of them. It was a fight I couldn't win on skill alone. I had to use my wits. Since there were two of them, they could communicate through a party chat I didn't have access to, and they could plan attacks to use coordination to attack me from two different angles, which meant I would have to make sure they stayed in my line of sight and were never behind me, which I may have failed to do a few times. Once I moved into Phase 3, it started with a long drawn out sniper fight, in which they both decided they didn't like this wall. Eventually they pushed me, we battled, and to keep this video from being 30 minutes long, I'll summarise what happened. They both sucked, they didn't die a single time. I got this pretty sweet snipe. I decided I won because I had more kills than both of them, as seen here and here. I flew away and sent them a message declaring my victorious victory, but couldn't get it through because they both left, further signifying my victory. This video was made with the properties of humour and comedy. Do not send them any hate, and also don't send me hate. Especially don't send me hate. This video took a very long time to make, and the script alone is 1,628 words, and the editing took multiple hours. So I would appreciate it if you like and subscribe. For more content later, if you enjoyed of course. Bye bye!